So business is about finding opportunities and finding solutions to really difficult problems. And internet shopping in South Africa should have been very different to the way in which it's evolved. We should just be able to sit at home and between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon have our products delivered. But a whole range of issues make that quite difficult to achieve. So in the first part of the show this evening, we've been talking to Kim Reid, Chief Executive at Takealot.com, about the way in which they've innovated around the problems. But one of those great innovations was to control your own delivery mechanism. And the way they did that was not to build their own, but to take a business that was struggling. And Mr. Delivery was busy between 6 and 10 at night. What did they do with the rest of the day? And that was the opportunity set that presented yourself.
Pretty much. I think there was a lot of hype around what we bought originally, and then we found what we bought wasn't quite what we saw, and we had to build it.
And translate. What did you tell us the gory details?
I think the fact is that these businesses work on a good technology platform. That's really what they work on. So if you have a look at any delivery business, and I think many of them in this country have not spent and invested enough on the technology side to make sure that you know exactly where a parcel is at every single phase of the loop. So when we bought Mr. Delivery at the time, none of that was there. We started developing that from day one.
It was a call center business, essentially.
Look, it was a very old, archaic business which actually had pretty bad service. We weren't particularly proud of the Mr. Delivery, the food part of the business initially.
So was it Mr. Delivery eventually?
Well, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
You know, I always say to people that before we got the digital part of Mr. D Food up and running, you used to phone a call center. The call center would then probably phone a restaurant. The restaurant would probably then phone the call center back or the customer directly back to say, well, I don't have this, or I may not have this, or something. And then hopefully within kind of an hour to an hour and a half, something would eventually arrive. It was an interesting thing because the brand was quite strong in South Africa. You know, people like Robbie Fleck used to be drivers for Mr. Delivery. You know, it was students did a lot of driving for Mr. Delivery. So the brand presence was there. The underlying technology layer was not. So we've spent a lot of time, and we still got a lot to do around the technology layer, just making sure that at every single point in the delivery journey, you can actually understand exactly where something is. And one of the most important parts as well is that you, once you've actually delivered something, that it pings you and says it's been delivered.
Yeah.
Or, you know, what we're doing right now is we're starting to put proactive models in place so we know when something's going to be late. So you can start dealing with something before it actually becomes late. So that technology layer is extremely important.
Because South Africa is still very much a shopping centre culture. I mean, people go to shopping centres for fun. It's a place of entertainment. It's a place of amusement, and occasionally people then spend some money in the shops. Because what, only 4, maybe 5% now of retail in South Africa is online. It's a minuscule. Is it?
I wish it's probably about 1.3% today.
I mean, and this is after 10 years of chipping away at trying to get people to buy stuff on the internet.
That's really the opportunity that we see, because when you have a look at, you know, even I was in Holland recently with one of our sister companies, eMag, who have got a great business in Poland, who I think they're sitting at 5% now penetrated. So, you know, Poland is 5% penetrated so if we get to that 5 or 8 or 10%, you know, China is sitting at 19% right now. We start getting to you know, double-digit penetration, the opportunity is just absolutely enormous.
What has to change in a society for that to occur?
It happens gradually, Bruce. I just think we've been backward, and I think one of the biggest issues that we faced in this country was internet penetration, number one, and capped bandwidth. You know, the concept of capped bandwidth has taken us back to the dark ages, and something that we still need, I think we still fight against, because people see internet as a cost. It's not a cost, it's a right. You know, you've got to have data.
You do have to have data, but we also like to charge for data in South Africa. We've got some of the most expensive data in the world on gig for gig. How do you fight that battle? Because you've got absolutely no control over what the internet service providers will charge for data.
I think it happens. It happens over time because you know, markets have to move towards the norm, and the norm is not to charge that amount for data. So you think about 10 years ago. In fact, think about 20 years ago. I remember going to Greece, still with Naspers, when I was with Naspers then, to a conference and plugging my actual computer into a phone line and waiting for it to dial up and download
Kids, this really used to happen. This really used to happen. And then there was a very loud computer noise. And
7.6 to 9.6 kilobits per second, you would get your emails downloaded. So you'd pop it in, go to dinner, come back, and hopefully your emails are downloaded. Now you pretty much go anywhere in Europe. And
anywhere in the world,
in fact, Wi-Fi is there on the plane. On the plane last night when I came back, guess what? There was internet.
Mobile devices, though, are changing the world. More and more handsets are more and more affordable. People are getting access to the internet. More and more malls are making internet access available. And Gigi Alcock, who is the township specialist, was on the show a couple of weeks ago and was telling us how people will go the month-end shop and go and do their email and internet downloads and upgrade their apps on their monthly visits to the mall. We've got to break that. And if we can get that, all of the Vumotels which have laid cables into Alex and getting central hubs, getting Wi-Fi, making it affordable, does change lives.
I think that's part of it, and I think it's going to happen. So we don't think about that anymore. Yes, we try and make our apps, as small as possible to download. We try and make sure that our mobile web apps as such can be accessed quite easily and efficiently. But I don't think that internet is going to be the ultimate holdback of it in this country. In fact, I don't think anything's going to hold it back. I think it's just going to gradually happen. It just hasn't happened as quickly as other markets.
The revolution will be what? Cheap data?
I think it's mindset and cheap data. So it's also good service. It's if you look at the plethora of internet companies or e-commerce companies that have been in the market that haven't really provided a good service to customers, I think that also took people back. And I won't name some of them because some of them are part of our business today and no longer there. But even if you look at, with our business today, Takealot, what it does today is our third-party marketplace has grown from 27% and it'll get to 37% of our total revenue today. So we're bringing people online and we're bringing, sellers online, which gives them access to a platform as well.
Perhaps the fact that it's been so blooming hard has kept competitors out. It's kept the Jack Ma's of the world out. It's kept the Amazons of the world out. They've got no need to come in and set up shop here to compete simply because it's blooming difficult to do. It's given you a head start, effectively.
Look, I think that's given us a head start, and we've also been incredibly fortunate with our investors. So we had Tiger Global early on.
They've given you hundreds of millions of rand.
So Tiger gave us funding and allowed us to be able to execute, and Naspers has taken over and does the same. So we've had really good backers.
We need to talk about Naspers because Naspers is going to be changing its own structure. It's going to be putting its big global internet businesses onto the Amsterdam Stock Exchange, the Euronext. And when they do that, they're going to be the biggest internet play in Europe. Is Takealot going to be part of it, or does it stay part of the lot in Cape Town? More in a moment.